So I cannot believe I'm talking about this, but the idea really is that there is a brand new stimulus check program as of August 2025, if you are watching this on the month of release date, that was recently just been floating around right now by President Donald Trump in order to send $600 stimulus checks. Some people are calling it a stimulus check because at the end of the day, it is money that is supposed to be meant to be sent to us, deposited inside of our bank account. Other people are calling it a tariff check, so you might have heard different names because it is something that's supposed to be funded by tariffs. But the idea is that at the very, very end of the day, he is proposing an idea right now in order to try to attempt to send out $600 stimulus checks to all Americans. And what's beautiful about this specific proposal right now is that it's going to apply to almost every single person that's watching this video, because the idea is that there were certain programs we talked about in the past that was only going to apply to people with families, to only apply to couples. But what's great about this is that this stimulus check, this $600 stimulus check program, will be applied to you as long as you hit the income threshold of making under a certain amount of money, which we will talk about in a little bit, so definitely stay tuned. As long as you hit that threshold, whether you are a single individual like me, whether you are a couple, whether you are a married couple filing jointly, or you are someone with children, this is going to apply to you, which is the really, really great news. So in today's video, what I really want to talk about is really just giving the background story to what this stimulus check is, how it came to be, how it's going to be physically funded, how is it different from the 2020 stimulus checks, who will actually physically qualify for it, and all of the important details about how this is also going to impact our economy and everything you need to know about it. So with that being said, now I do want to say one thing straight, maybe on just to start off with this video, is that this stimulus check program right now is currently admittedly still a proposal. So it has not been approved yet, but the idea really is that at least it's there. And also keep in mind that while $600 is not as big clearly as the $5,000 Doge stimulus check, which we talked about earlier this year, which I already have a video, so I'll put that at the end screen. You can watch that video if you're interested after this video. The idea is that the smaller the stimulus check, the more likely it will be to approve, because it means it's a lot easier to approve. And this is just logic. You know, it's easier to approve things that are smaller than things that are very massive and big. And the idea really behind this one is that because of this particular reason, the probability of being approved, which we will talk about in a little bit, is still uncertain because it's still early, but is at least more likely than the $5,000 stimulus checks. Of course, by the end of this video, it's going to make a lot more sense. So with that being said, for similar updates, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and let's get started. So the background story to really understand how this stimulus check program essentially came to be is that after President Donald Trump implemented his tariffs earlier this year, he found out that he had a lot of excess money that came from the tariffs that he wants to, or potentially is now going to be able to create stimulus checks funded by this specific situation. However, what's really, really great is that to make things even better than, we have already heard, is that later on, so specifically in August of 2025, the release date of this video, earlier this month, Republican Senator Josh Hawley released a brand new bill called the Americans Workers Rebate Act. And so how the specific American Workers Rebate Act works is that this is the bill that was recently just released, and there's already text about it. So it's not just an idea, there's physical text, which I might put, maybe in the comment section, or I'll put in the description. But it is very complicated wording, so you don't have to necessarily read it. You can glance at it if you guys want to. But if you guys appreciate the fact that I'm summarizing it, maybe consider subscribing and smashing the like button if you guys haven't done so. But this bill essentially would send out $600 stimulus checks to all Americans, or a $2,400 stimulus check for a family of 4 if qualified. So $600 per person, 600 times 4 is $2,400 or $2,400 worth of stimulus checks to all families. Now, in terms of talking about the qualifications to how you can potentially qualify for it, is that this stimulus check will essentially go to every single individual American making under $75,000 or joint/married couples filing together making $150,000 with a reduction of 5% for those making above that. So essentially, if you are someone that makes under $75,000 as an individual American or $150,000 as a couple, you would qualify for this stimulus check program. But even if you happen to make even more than that, you would still be able to qualify for it if it was just slightly above that. It's just that you would have your stimulus check reduced by about 5% from $600 to just something less than $600, depending on how much money you make as your typical income. Now, what is the difference between the 2020 stimulus checks and this stimulus check? Is that because first off, what's really, really great about this stimulus check is that the 2020 stimulus checks was funded by printed money. They used brand new fresh money through the money printer in order to create the 2020 stimulus checks, the one that we've talked about on this channel for years and years now. In order to fund the first stimulus check program, the first, second, and third stimulus check program, which is the reason why we suffered massive inflation, as most of you guys probably know if you've been following this channel for a while now. But the idea is that this new stimulus check program, so the tariff check, the brand new 2025 stimulus check tariff rebate program, this is going to be funded by tariffs, as you can guess by the title. So because of that specific reason, what's really nice about this is that while it is true that it's going to put money inside of our pockets, it is expected that it won't increase inflation as much as compared to if this was money that was supposed to be freshly printed. So it will still lead to some level of inflation because, again, at the end of the day, giving Americans more money means that prices are going to expect to go upwards. However, it won't increase prices as much as, so not as significant as compared to if this was freshly printed money. So that's one of the biggest differences between this stimulus check in 2025 and the original stimulus checks from the first, second, and third stimulus package in 2020 and 21 that we've talked about for all these years throughout this channel. So if you guys are brand new here, maybe consider subscribing. Because again, although this is still a proposal, we will definitely release videos if this does end up ultimately officially approved. We just have to see, of course, what ultimately ends up happening. But the next thing that we really have to talk about is really about the probability and how realistic is it that this stimulus check program will approve. Now, right now at this time, my personal, again, and this is a little bit opinionated, but there are going to be some facts that we're going to use to back this up, is that it is currently, because this was just recently released, even though we have the actual physical text, which again, I'll try to put in the description or in the comment section or both, the idea is that it's still pretty early to call. It's a little bit too early to call whether or not this is going to be approved. However, with that being said, and this is the part that's a little bit opinionated because we are talking about the future, which obviously has not happened yet, so nobody knows for certain, as nobody's for sure. But the idea is that at the very end of the day, because we at least have a physical text, it is probably a lot more likely to approve than the $5,000 Doge stimulus checks that we talked about earlier this year. First is because we have a physical text like just mentioned, but also because it's a smaller amount. I think that's really logical. It is just a lot easier to send less money to Americans than to send more money. And so if you have a situation where $600 is being proposed, it's certainly going to be a lot more likely and a lot easier to approve than the $5,000 stimulus checks. This is even more true because, as you guys already know, that we've already mentioned in this video, is the fact that this program is funded by already existing money, which is the really great news. Is that means that it's not going to contribute to inflation as much as the other programs that were introduced over the last couple of years and involve freshly printed money. So these are just basically some ideas to really be able to get out there. Of course, I'd love to hear your particular opinions. Feel free to drop them down in the comments below. Do you think this is going to approve? Do you think it's not going to approve? Or maybe just any particular thoughts about whether you personally support or don't support this stimulus check and how you think this is going to impact our economy. Would love to hear that. But with that being said, that's basically just what I really wanted to cover in today's video. So hopefully not too long, nothing too crazy, just to break out the news for you guys. So if you guys enjoyed that video, as always, like if you guys enjoyed that, comment, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification if you guys want to get more updates as we get more information. We do also make other videos talking about other finance and economic topics as well, so if that is something of interest, definitely consider subscribing, and as always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching.